Who are you? That's the question. So non-duality questions where you think yourself to be. So in typical society, people think that they are someone, so they're an I, and they're in relationship to you. So you might think that I'm sitting here talking to you, and that's how we describe things in language, and there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to then start going on that we're nobodies or something. In language, that's how we communicate, and that's how our society is set up. But that doesn't mean that that's the ultimate reality, or that's the way things are. That's simply the way we're communicating in order to be able to describe something. But if you haven't noticed yet, I'm sure most of you that are listening have, is it's impossible to actually speak about anything. We can only point to things. So the way that we know this sofa is it's not a wall, it's not the table, it's not the chair. We know it as a sofa, and we know it compared to all these other words. So we know a tall table. So say we describe a tall table by the fact that it's not a short table, but the fact that it's a table, it looks a certain way, it has a rectangle top or a circle top or a top with 4 legs, or has legs, and you can put chairs around it. So everything we know is in comparison to something else. We might not think that's the way our language is set up, but our brain is quickly deducting everything and putting words together and creating a meaning. So everybody's meaning of what I say will be different. When I was younger and before I got into this subject, I thought that there were things that were fact and that everybody understood things in that way. I didn't really contemplate the idea that everybody's notion of love is different, everybody's notion of what I'm saying is different, everybody's notion of hate is different, everybody's notion of goodness is different. So you know your whole entire environment by the comparison to other elements in that environment. You know something is blue because it's not red. You know something is green because it's not brown. You know something is beautiful because it's not ugly. You know something is white because it's not black. You know something is free because it's not caged. So our meaning, like the pace in which our brain is working, is really rapid, and it's really amazing, and it's always pairing meaning together. It's always putting meaning in things and putting that meaning together into sentences which we understand and we comprehend, and then it enables us to communicate with other people. But that's not reality. That's not fact. That's not who you are prior to learning language. So when you were born, you didn't have language, but yet you still were. There was still consciousness. If you bump your head and you don't have language, you forget everything. There's still this consciousness. There's still this awake presence. And why is that so important? You know, lots of people maybe talk about this. And the reason that that's so important is because there is something prior to language. So our essence, one thing that you'd say, if we say essence, one quality you'd give it is conscious. Like, we're conscious of this world. We're not like a TV. We have consciousness. We're looking out and we perceive this world. We perceive the sofa. We perceive the table. We perceive the room. So there is consciousness appearing. And we also have this sense of being, and that's not dependent on language. That's not dependent on who we think we are. That's not dependent on being a good person, a bad person, a rich person, a poor person. We have these two independent things, this awakeness, this consciousness, this knowing, and this presence, this sense that this is, that life is. So what non-duality is trying to point to is who you are beyond who you think you are. So who are you beyond who you think you are? Who? And that's such a profound question. That's so beautiful. And when you really begin to explore it, even the word consciousness begins to disappear. There is simply nothing appearing as everything. There's life, there's energy that knows itself. And this consciousness is timeless. This consciousness doesn't move in time. We perceive ourselves as this separate entity with a soul inside the body, and this soul is conscious, and it's something that thinks and has choices and doership, and it came from the past and is going from the future. It came from the gym and it's now listening to Lisa, and then afterwards it's going to go and have its dinner, or it's going to start the day, depending on where you are in the world. But that's not actually who you are. There is this consciousness, this awake presence that's never moved, ever. It's here watching in every instant, experiencing itself. And in that you move, in that the world moves, in that the character moves. The suffering comes when there is the identity with that, the identification with that character. So this like sucking on, it's like, and it takes that story to be who you are. And there's nothing wrong with stories. I love stories. I'm a writer. I love it. But that's not who you are. That's not an experiencer.